On this week's episode of the podcast, we talk about some sales numbers from June that may surprise a lot of people, a brand new Tom Clancy game that I'm pretty excited about, and Valve's shot at the Nintendo Switch. Let's get into it right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Xpansion Pack podcast, where we download this week's gaming news and we bring it to you. We are on episode 37 this week, man. 37.
Yeah.
Going strong.
Train
Awesome.
takes yet they.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right.
Yeah, you did say that, right?
Yeah, you did. You did.
I had to think about that. You said it weird. I was like,
I was like, huh,
My
okay.
bad.
I mean, either way. Yeah, well, I'm your host, Denzel, aka Black Ice 8, joined by my amazing co-host as always. We got Manny in the middle here, aka Goop Master Flex. What's going on, bro?
Stay gooping.
Stay gooping. You already know. And of course, we got the one and only Chris, aka May 25th. What's going on, bro?
damn right. Same old shit. Here to talk about some good stuff, though. We got some stuff to talk
Ooh,
about.
we got some great stuff to talk about. Some games, some new systems. Let's jump right into it, man. Let's jump right into it. So, what was that?
That was me jumping right into it. I can't jump right into it.
I respect it, bro. You gotta get in there. You got okay. All right, I'm with you. All right, so we starting off with some with a game that we've definitely talked about quite a bit on this podcast. It's everybody's favorite game, Cyberpunk 2077. So, for all of you who don't know, I don't know who doesn't know at this point, but definitely one of the most overhyped games of last year. It got released last December to some not so great reviews around a lot of bugs and issues that happened, pretty much prompting PlayStation to pull it right off of their PlayStation store about 8 days after its release. After many patches that have come out on PC and Xbox and so on and so forth, it seems like PlayStation and CD Projekt Red feel comfortable enough about the game to put it back on the PlayStation store. And that happened, I want to say, roughly 2 weeks ago. Now we're getting some numbers that those 2 weeks, or I guess it must have really been only like a week in June. Actually, I'm double checked those numbers, but I think it was only out for a full week in the month of June. But apparently, it's topped the PlayStation charts for the most downloaded PlayStation 4 game, which is kind of wild considering all the negative backlash that we've heard about it. Anytime I ever hear somebody talk about the game, it's always something negative, really. Even though I still think the game's a pretty good game, minus the bugs. And again, I played the game on an Xbox Series X, so I know that the bug situation wasn't as bad, the performance wasn't as bad. But I really enjoyed my time in Night City, and I thought it was a really good game. I think it's, once they get those bugs ironed out and they have some more DLC, I definitely think that the game has like a much higher trajectory to go through. Like, obviously, we know how live service games can be nowadays. You can definitely come back from a bad launch, even as historic as Cyberpunk's may be. So, I want to get into it. I want to get your opinions on this stuff, guys. I know, Chris, you in particular, you've still been touching the game here and there. I know you haven't exactly beat it yet. You've been playing a lot of side missions, this, that, and the other. What do you think about this news? Do you think that this game has a lot more legs to go? I mean, obviously, PlayStation gamers still seem to want to try it out. So,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not a dead in the water game to me yet, at least, Like, it's not Anthem level. I hate to always use it as the benchmark, but that is the benchmark of like a game that came out with a lot of hype and just died and got no chest compressions, no mouth to mouth, no nothing. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I think Cyberpunk is far from that. I would not put it in that boat. It's a good sign. I mean, at least it can give the devs, good faith. If they can put the game back out on PlayStation Store after being off of it for all these months, and see a number spike like that, that's a good sign of faith for them. To actually keep the ball rolling and hopefully get us these DLCs like they're supposed to be getting us. Because I'm actually kind of waiting for it. Despite a lot of the negative criticism that the game did receive, I feel like a lot of what I saw was mostly online. Everybody around me who played the game, for the most part, said that even though they all experienced bugs and crashes and all that, they enjoyed what they played. So I know once they actually get it right, it's a done deal. You know, the only reason why I haven't beat the final mission in the game yet is because I have a penchant for doing this with video games and TV series that I really really like, right? And it's a bad habit, but like I save the last part of it for like ever. It's mad weird, bro. Mad weird. Um, there's a TV show I love called Fringe from way back from Fox. A lot of people don't know about this show. Sleeper, super sleeper. And I have not watched the final like 3 episodes on purpose. And it has been years, bro. Years. Because I'm like, one day I'm gonna wake up and be like, you know what's a good thing to do? I'm gonna watch those Fringe episodes and it's gonna hit. Because every time I do it like that, it works. So it's like, I don't know. I'm weird. So, but yeah, point blank, it means I like the game. So, I just hope they, like I said, carry through on their promises for the DLC and keep the ball rolling. That's good. It's a good sign of faith for sure. Because I didn't expect that shit. That's shocking.
Yeah, no, it definitely was the last thing I was expecting to hear about.
Yeah,
Cyberpunk 77, especially considering once they put it back on the store, I'm pretty sure they Sony made them put a disclaimer, or I think Sony put the disclaimer to say that they don't recommend you play this game on a PlayStation 4 base. I think they said you can play, or I think they said they recommend playing on a Pro or a PS5. Which is crazy. I think it's unprecedented. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Manny, what's your take on this here? Do you think there's more light at the end of the tunnel for CD Projekt Red with this kind of news, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously gives like to the hope of the game actually being revived essentially and being back to like pretty much what the game that we all expected it to be. So it's, I'm happy for CD Projekt Red to get that, publicity, the fact that they are the top selling game. I'm not really that surprised that it is though, essentially just because, a lot of people that, that weren't able to get the game at first. I mean, it was like the first 8 days and then they just took it off the store. So not really everybody got the chance to buy it digitally, as well as, of course, you got those people curious to see, what the game's about, that, when the game got its heat for being pretty much unpolished and buggy and stuff like that. But, hopefully we get some more news on DLC, multiplayer. I'm, excited to, venture Night City with the boys, of course,
Get that multiplayer for sure.
And
so... Yeah, hopefully, like I said, this, gives hope for the developers to make them want to keep on pushing this game forward. They see that people want this game still. If people are still playing it, the game is good, despite the bugs. At launch, it was like first, like really unplayable at sometimes, but I mean, in the end, it's still a great game with a great story and like great side quests and all that kind of stuff. Great city. The gunplay may not be the greatest, but I mean, pretty much here for the story. But other than that, it's a great game. Waiting on DLC. Hopefully we get that anytime soon, as well as a next gen upgrade. Hopefully we get some more news on that. And yeah.
No, that's you're right, Manny. It's interesting though, because I want to say, Manny, you know a lot more about Grand Theft Auto Online than I do, so you're gonna have to kind of run this down for me. But from what I understand, there's supposed to be a new expansion dropping tomorrow, right?
Tuners.
Yeah, so it's supposed to add like tuner cars and all these different car events and whatnot. And when I saw it, I was like, man, like thinking about this, I'm like, this is what we could be getting from Cyberpunk. Like if it really popped off the way it was supposed to initially, and they actually gave it more time and launched with a multiplayer component and all that stuff, like we could have had our own, more modernized Grand Theft Auto Online. Obviously, Grand Theft Auto Online is like its own entity. It's a freaking monster at this point. It's basically an MMO. But the one thing that the one thing that always keeps me from actually going back and playing Grand Theft Auto Online is that I just feel like the mechanics of the game, the controls are just dated, right? Like obviously, the game, it's based off of GTA 5, which came out forever ago. So like I don't know. For some reason, it just doesn't feel good to play to me anymore. But there's so much stuff going on that it's actually really cool, and I always wish that I could go back in. And every time I try to, I'm like, "Ugh, it feels dated. I can't do it." So,
Yeah.
like Cyberpunk, a little bit more. Obviously the controls are more modernized. The gun play isn't that great, but it's definitely leaps and bounds ahead of Grand Theft Auto, in my opinion. So, that's like they had an opportunity here, man. They really did. And
Definitely.
obviously it's still there in some level, but man, it just sucks. It sucks.
Hopefully, hopefully they release it before GTA 6, because if they try to release a multiplayer by the time GTA 6 come out, that game's already gonna be dead.
I mean, in 2030.
Pretty much, yeah.
2030. I'm talking about 2042.
Oh god.
But yeah,
Jesus.
We're gonna be waiting a while for that Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah, it ain't coming no time soon. They ain't got to worry yet.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see what else CD Projekt Red has up their sleeve. I mean, they still got to do the Witcher, next gen upgrade or whatever. They still got to give us our Cyberpunk next gen upgrade. But hopefully after that, they have some room to hit us off with the multiplayer stuff. But that's enough about CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk. Kind of in that same report or blog post that PlayStation put out, we also saw that Cyberpunk is top of the list for PlayStation 4 games, but they also showed off that Ratchet and Clank, which really isn't a surprise to anybody, but Ratchet and Clank is the top selling game for PS5, and also independent of PlayStation's blog post, we also got some numbers dropped by the NPD group, who kind of aggregates all the game sales across the US, I think specifically. I don't think they do international. But anyways, they also confirmed that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was the best-selling game for the month of June. Wrapped in that story also kind of brings us to our next topic here, which is that the Xbox Series X and S were the best-selling console for the month of June. Well, more specifically, the best-selling console by revenue, or by dollar amount, I should say. The Nintendo Switch still beat it out by pure units sold. But, the fact that the Xbox actually sold more than the PlayStation is news, man, because obviously the PlayStation's been breaking all these records. They've been considered the fastest selling system of all time and yada, yada, yada. I'm curious. I didn't expect this to happen so soon. I do fundamentally think that the mind share that's been going on around PlayStation and how much people want PlayStations versus how much people want Xboxes, it's going to taper off. They're going to get to a more even level eventually in the console generation. But I didn't expect to see so much growth from Microsoft so quickly on this console generation. Apparently, not only did they outsell PlayStation, but they've also hit like a record that they haven't hit since I believe they said, was it 2011? Basically the Xbox 360 era. So I mean that's their best month since the Xbox 360 era in particular, which is kind of insane, insane to think about. I'm curious, what do you guys think? Manny, do you think this is really more a product of the fact that there really aren't that many PlayStations out there to go buy? Or, I mean, from what I can tell, it just seems like they're set, like both companies are just selling through whatever the hell it is that they have. So, do you think it's a matter of Microsoft's gotten a big boost by all the goodwill and all the things that they've been doing? Or is it a matter of, it was just what was available?
I mean, it could go both ways, because we know with the shortage on the consoles and everything like that, pretty much selling out everywhere immediately. I could understand why people think that, or people could think that, they only sold more because they made more consoles that month, which is, it could be a reason. But we also are, got to think about that. We just came back from the biggest gaming, event in the year pretty much. And Xbox pretty much came out there with the bangers. I mean, shoot, Game Pass was a big hit of the show. Yep. The fact that you get 6 exclusives within the next 6 months for free. Oh, not for free. We got to buy the subscription, but I mean, honestly, it's just like purchasing PlayStation Plus, but you get these benefits from it. And not only that is, we also got to remember that Bethesda, those bangers that they put out, Redfall and Starfield, coming to not PlayStation. Well,
confirmed coming to Xbox.
Confirmed coming to Xbox, not PlayStation. So I know all those Skyrim heads or Fallout heads gonna definitely come to Xbox, or even if they don't come to Xbox but PC. But still, that's very huge. We know like how big Skyrim was back then, and Fallout has been as well. So I'm sure there's definitely a lot of fans that want to play the next Fallout, want to play Starfield, want to play Redfall and stuff like that. So we definitely can see like, even though, yeah, you can argue that PlayStation might be the most mainstream console at the moment, Xbox has more to offer than what PlayStation has,
Hands down.
especially since they didn't have really any press conference that showcased anything recently. I mean, we got the Deathloop, we got the Horizon Forbidden West, but the only thing is, we know Deathloop is confirmed for September. Horizon, I mean, that game still to be determined, and that should like worry PlayStation fans as a whole. Like, did I really just spend $500 on a console with no games to play? So that could be people's mindset.
Yeah, it's crazy because that's like the flip mindset of how people talk about used to talk about Xbox. It's like, yeah, you ain't got no games, da, 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 you know? And it's like, obviously at some level we know that the games are coming for PlayStation, right? Like we know we're gonna get the God of Wars, like the Horizon as well, like you mentioned. But it's a matter of we don't know when, and it seems like like we talked about last episode, it seems like they may have shot their shot a little too early with some of the games at the tail end of the PlayStation 4 generation. They didn't space out stuff enough. So yeah, it's kind of like, well, nobody knows what to expect going forward. I'm sure Sony's got some sort of plan at some point, whether it's at the end of the summer, at the fall, to really showcase more things. But as of right now, gamers don't know what to expect, and I think a lot of people are antsy about it. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense
Wait,
that. Oh, go ahead.
you can't forget about the director's cuts.
Oh god. Don't even get me started on that. Hideo Kojima said that he hates that terminology, director's cut. He doesn't
I
like
did
that there.
too.
Yeah, he's like,
I hate it too.
well, he said more specifically because it's not a director's cut. A director's cut infers that there was content that got left on the cutting room floor, and he said with this director's cut for Death Stranding, he made new content for it. So like he hates that term, but whatever. A dicey situation. But yeah, Chris, I want to get your take on this, bro. So what do you think, man? You think E3 really hit off for Microsoft and they're really peaking right now, or you think?
Yeah, man. I mean, for sure, man.
Yeah.
Because I gotta agree with a lot what Goop said. For me, the Bethesda thing alone was humongous. Like, I really truly think a lot of people, I don't want to say they trolled, but like they knew how big it was, but didn't want to like admit how big it was in the moment. And I'm talking about the people on the other side of the fence, right? So now that it's really becoming real, you know how it is for a lot of people. It's not real until it's like tangible, until you can touch it and see it and blah blah blah. And to be able to see Xbox exclusive, like legit, like it's real, I think that hit home for a lot of people. One correlation that I always kind of make too is that, remember how we kind of talk about the casual people, they generally play, 2K, Madden, COD, the basic games that most people play. If those folks do decide to play RPGs generally, it ain't Dragon Age, it ain't none of those other games. It's Skyrim. 90% of those type of folks, you can bring up all those other games and be like, oh, either they don't know what you're talking about or they never played them. You bring up Skyrim in a discussion. You bring up Fallout 3 in a discussion. Oh, hell yeah, bro. And they know exactly what you're talking about. They fought the same dragon you fought. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like the pull to want to be able to play these next games is massive. I don't think people are really starting to like give it that credit until like now, because that's got to be part of it. Another thing for me also is I really and truly believe like people are super excited about Halo, and you can't play it any other way unless you get an Xbox. So they're gonna go out and buy the Xboxes. And I mean, the Starfield thing is a big part of it, but at the end of the day, Starfield and Redfall are both next year, I think, whereas Halo's in a couple months. So I'm telling y'all, you don't want to be that offy that I can't play. You don't want to be that. You do not want to be that, because it's gonna come out, especially Game Pass Day 1. Like, come on, it all kind of, this is what they wanted, right? They wanted it all to kind of string together and do its thing, and that's what's kind of happened. So, yeah, I think that's really a big reason as to why that's a thing. And then also, again, you guys also mentioned, there's really just not a lot to play on the other side of the fence. There's just a couple of things to be excited about here and there, but there's a lot to choose from, like right now. The only thing I'm really itching for is a new kind of, FPS PvP type of thing, but we'll get to some of that later. Yeah, man, I think it's a big thing, man. It's huge. It's
Yeah.
humongous.
Yes, sir.
So
Pause.
thank you.
You know
Thank you.
what? I'm gonna. Damn, you messed up my segue, yo. But I mean, it's called good. Basically,
You messed up my side.
yeah, you messed up my segue, bro. Because I was gonna piggyback off of what you said. You know what? Whatever. We just go get into it. Based on what you said about new PvP first person shooters here, it brings us to our next topic. Literally just got announced. We're recording this on Monday. Just got announced about 4 hours ago. Brand new Tom Clancy game coming from Ubisoft. Honestly, I'm mad that it's not Splinter Cell, but I'm actually pretty excited at what this really is. It looks pretty cool. It's a game called Tom Clancy's X Defiant. Basically, it's a fast-paced first-person shooter, arena shooter game. It seems like when I first saw it, I thought it was like, oh, is this like a hero shooter? But the way they explained it was that it's class-based. You can pick any class you want. You can customize your character to look however you want. You can use whatever guns you want. And yeah, it just looks so cool. Like, it just got this edgy look to it, which looks very different from anything else that we've ever seen from a Tom Clancy game in particular. Tom Clancy games, there's always like a polish to it, right? It's a bit of a more serious tone. It doesn't leave as much room for personality and wackiness as, say, like an Apex Legends or Borderlands or any of those types of games. But this is like more punk. There's a little bit more attitude to it. Definitely looks really cool. And in particular, the factions that we were talking about, they derive from different areas of the Tom Clancy world. So there's 4 factions that they announced so far. I don't know if there'll be more going down the road, but the first one here is the Wolves, which is derived from the Ghost Recon series. Apparently, the way they build those are more tank-based characters, so they'll be the heavies. You got the Cleaners from the Division. I don't remember what they build that ability as in particular.
They're more like the assault
class.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. So then they got the Outcasts as well from the Division, and those will be the healer class. And then we have Echelon. That's you already know. You already know that's going to be my class, ladies and gentlemen. You already know. Coming straight from Splinter Cell. That's the support class. They even had in the trailer when actually, I don't know if it was in the trailer or if it was in the director's interview.
I think I know what you're talking about. Directors.
It was a trailer where he had like goggles put in. Yeah.
When he put the goggles down, you hear the choo. I was like, oh, I need it.
They knew what they was doing.
They
knew
need
exactly what they was doing.
It's so funny because I'm so torn. I'm like, you guys fucking suck. I want Splinter Cell, but at the same time, like, this is cool. I'm excited for this. I'm really excited for this. So, Chris, I'm gonna start off with you on this one, man. I know you're newer to first-person shooters. We bust your chops about that time and again. This definitely looks like more of a Ubisoft's take on like a Call of Duty type of world, and I know that you've been getting really big into Warzone, really big into Modern Warfare. So I definitely want to hear what you think about this one.
Yeah, man, it looks cool, bro. Like, just aesthetically, I'm really excited for what I saw. I love, me, I like customization and getting that drip the right way. Pause. You know what I'm saying? You see me in Destiny. If you ever seen my Guardian, what? Oh, man, all right, let me stop. Anyways, I like that shit. And I saw plenty of that in the in the announcement trailer or teaser or whatever you want to call it. The weapon stuff looks cool. I love the class system. I love the fact that he said it's going to have a relatively fast TTK, which is good. That's what I want. I want it to be fast. You know what I mean? So the fact that you could change your loadout every time you res, there's a couple things that he was saying. I was like, that sounds cool. But then, like, there's alts and stuff to choose from as well. And I'm like, fam, wait, huh? So, like, that's what I was telling you earlier. It's like, it reminds me of a couple of different games. Like, there's certain elements that kind of gave me Overwatch-y vibes. There's certain elements that obviously remind you either COD or some kind of, like, army simulator. But then, like, I kind of even got reminded of Destiny a little bit. Because I was like, yo, this man's put up a shield and was sniping through the shield. And that's a Titan ability in Destiny. And I'm like, what? So it got my juices flowing. I ain't gonna hold you. But the one thing I will say that's kind of crazy, there are certain people out there that are mad that Tom Clancy's name is on the game. And I was like, but they're using stuff from the universes.
Yeah, that's weird.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, it makes
Like,
total,
I don't get it.
it's
I
total
don't get it.
sense. It's literally in that universe. Like,
Peeps are heated, like not a lot of people, but there's a good amount of them I was reading. I was like, good God, okay, damn. Some of them, I guess, take the Tom Clancy name sacred. So if you do anything that's outside of the realm of realism or I don't know, grounded in reality type of shit, then they're just like, nah, like don't put his name on that beat. So,
I can kind of see that. I mean,
yeah,
I thought that's literally the whole point of why they chose the name and they went with the tone that they went with. Like, this all seems very deliberate. Like, I don't know. I mean, obviously they have to get approval from the Tom Clancy camp. I'm sure they're cool with it. And I think the thing that's coolest about this is if we look at how Ubisoft handles multiplayer games, right? Like Manny, you and I and the rest of the crew, we've really been getting back into Rainbow Six Siege recently. We know how long that game has been going on. That's a good 6 years, maybe plus. They've been very consistent about releasing new content, releasing new operators, so on and so forth. Now you've situated yourself in a way that you've created a game that's a live service game, free to play. Um, they've pretty much said flat out, we want this to be a game that lives on forever. They said we don't want to just release the game and abandon it and let it go on. Like they really seem, at least for at face value, they seem really committed to making this a thing going forward, to building the community. They're really transparent about, or they're trying to be transparent about development cycles and whatnot. The game's going to be launching in closed beta on August 5th, and they said that they want to just kind of continue to build it with the community. I would have to imagine that, yeah, we have these four classes, these factions or classes, whatever you want to call it, but this has to leave room for them to add other Tom Clancy things that may not even necessarily be games in Ubisoft's library yet, right? Like I know we were talking about the show, or sorry, movie. Oh my God, what's it called? Beyond Remorse or something like that. The movie that came out on Amazon that's starring Michael B. Jordan. It's like, okay, like that's another area of the Tom Clancy universe that we really haven't explored yet in video games. Jack Ryan is another thing we haven't explored yet in video games. Like this could leave the door open for more things like that. I'm sure I can't even think off the top of my head right now. There's got to be other Ubisoft Tom Clancy games that they haven't even referenced.
They hinted at it on the website though, which exactly what you're saying.
Oh really?
Because it says that it's going to be current operators and they plan to add more from the other universes and beyond. So the and beyond thing is, I think, what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. I mean, you also got to think about it like the term metaverse has been a thing that's come up a lot because of Fortnite, right? Fortnite, it's like it is the metaverse, right? You getting like LeBron James in there now. Like Neymar was in there not too long ago. They had the Avengers in the game, so on and so forth. So like, yeah, it literally anything. They've opened up the doors to put literally anything that you could think of in that game. They had freaking concerts in the game, so on and so forth. I don't know if they're necessarily going to go that far with this X Defiant thing, but because of the tone and how it's just different and out there, like I feel like it definitely leaves the door open for some more abstract things to go into the game. So I don't know, man. I'm fucking excited. That's all I know, Manny. I didn't ask you yet. Sorry, I didn't get your full take yet. But I want to hear what you. I know you're obviously a big first person shooter player as well. So yeah, what do you think, man? What do you want to dive into on this?
I mean, they sold me at free. I mean, the fact that it's free will definitely give this game some attention because not only will it, be free, you don't have to worry about paying a paywall and everything like that. You can just get right into the game, download it, play with your boys, so that it'll definitely give it so much attention. I'm sure a lot of people will be playing it. Hopefully, we'll give it a lot of life to it since it is free, which is something that I wish Rainbow Six did a long time ago. Since like to keep on adding operators, keep on adding life to the game. It's hard for like a new person to be like, all right, I don't want to spend like $20, $30 to the game, when you could just hop right in the game right away. And like, even if the game isn't good, let's say, the fact that it's free, really benefits us as well. So I'm excited. I like how they talked a lot about gunplay, how they're trying to focus on it, make sure that, it's polished, because in a first person shooter, you don't want gunplay to be all, soggy and trash. You know what I mean? Like,
The controls
that's
are
the most
everything.
important part.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
controls are everything.
And I liked how, they had the different classes, like you mentioned, the Wolves Cleaners, Outcast, Echelon. That brings a, whole new thing to the game. I can't even think of the right word, but it's very exciting because, like, these arena shooters, like, you play games like, Call of Duty, where it's just like one dimensional, or you just, learn the meta. Okay, I got bunny hop slides, whatever, that's the thing. But like, when you add abilities to the game, like, I know how Destiny has, like, your hunters and warlocks and stuff like that. Like, like, it brings an extra, I guess, I'll say dimension to the video game, which
Yeah,
makes it
no, that
exciting.
makes
Like
sense.
element.
Yeah, extra element. There you go. So I'm excited. It looks something. It looks different, something that we haven't seen, and the fact that this game could be like a competitive shooter, could bring really hope to the future. We know Ubisoft is known for competitive games, so like Siege, and this one could be a new one too. So I'm excited, and free to play. So why not give it a chance?
Free to play. Free to play. Yeah, I mean that's
Hey,
huge. And
another point too,
oh,
guys.
go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But I love the fact that it's a new FPS too, that eventually people are going to be streaming and stuff. When new games come out, man, these are good opportunities for all of us people out here trying to get up on our streaming. Just saying. So,
So, well, it's funny you bring that up because I was actually going to reference their attempt at Hyperscape, and I feel like
mm,
Ubisoft, the publisher, because I don't think this is the same developer. Definitely not the same developer. But the publisher, Ubisoft, has learned, I think, their lesson on how to release a game like this, because obviously Hyperscape didn't go over so well long term. When it first dropped, I think their strategy was pretty cool, right? Like, you announce the game, you basically make it so that only people who uh, are watching other people's streams can get the keys to, play and so on and so forth. It was a cool element, but obviously Hyperscape was missing something. Had a lot of really cool ideas, but it just didn't hit. And I think certain studios are realizing, like, okay, like this battle royale thing, it's not meant for everyone, right? Like, it's still relevant, obviously, but it's not meant for everyone to dive into. So, like, let's go back to what we know. Let's go back to the arena shooter stuff. Obviously we haven't really been seeing as many new arena shooters lately. And I think that with Halo right on the horizon, I think that this is a good time to kind of get back to that mode of, like, okay, arena shooter. This was the thing that made a lot of people fall in love with FPSs. And let's, like, go back to perfecting that and let other people spend a little bit more time doing the different things that they need to explore with battle royale. Like, battle royale is still an extremely important genre. I don't think it's going anywhere, but I think a lot of people are understanding, like, we can't just throw out a random battle royale game and hope that it works. Like, for for as many Fortnites and PUBGs, and I don't even know if I want to put PUBG in that category anymore, but for as many Fortnites and Warzones as there are just as many Hyperscapes and Radical Heights out in the world. So you got to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And yeah, I'm glad to see that Ubisoft's not falling for the trap right now. Doing something smart, finding a way to build a long-term live service game in a different way. They're kind of going back to their Rainbow Six Siege model, which they know worked. Obviously, Siege. See, I don't know. Would you mainly consider Siege an arena shooter? I guess it's not, right? Like, it's more of a tactical, like,
Yeah, more
asymmetrical
tactical.
type of thing. Yeah, definitely a completely different vibe altogether. But
Hmm.
a question for y'all.
yeah,
Y'all think at some point they kind of merge whatever they're doing with this with whatever they're going to be trying to do with Heartland?
I hope not, but possible.
Heartland is just going to be like, their version of a battle royale for Division. I don't think it's going to be like, I mean, I understand they both had the Tom Clancy name, so I can understand what you're thinking, but I just feel like with this Defiant game that, they're just going to focus solely on, like, the Tom Clancy universe and the stuff that they can add to the game instead of like at mixing up together because like they're two completely different games. So
I think there
I
may
mean,
be
like mix them
some.
together, but
I think there may be some promotional like stuff that may
yeah.
cross over. Like maybe we'll get some skins based off of Heartland and
Mhm.
all that stuff. And the fact that this is coming out now and being announced now makes me think that Heartland we might not be seeing it for a while, like maybe till next year, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Give this a little
Mhm.
bit of space to breathe. And that's kind of what I was alluding to too when I said like find the right things that work for battle royale. Right? We talked about this on previous episodes, but like the way the division is set up it does seem like it would work well with battle royale, right? Like it's already a desolate world, dropping in, looting, doing whatever, whatever that game actually ends up being. Because obviously we don't know what it really is. We've just speculated and seen some rumors and whatnot. But it
Mhm.
seems like the way the division is set up, it would make sense for that to be a battle royale. You're not forcing anything out, and you're probably going to give the developers some time to really flesh that out, and make sure the gameplay loop works and then just let this X Defiant game be the thing for a little while. Um, yeah, but to answer your question, Chris, yes, I do think that they will have some tie together, just not on a gameplay standpoint, but like, yeah, there'll be some skins that'll probably be on certain developers that have something to do with Heartland when Heartland drops. I absolutely think that's the case because Ubisoft definitely does that quite often.
Mhm.
Word, word.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, obviously, as you guys can tell, we're super excited about that game in particular. We cannot wait. August 5th. Make sure you guys sign up for the beta. You guys,
Only two
Definitely.
weeks.
Manny.
It's
I
like
already
two
signed.
weeks.
I already signed up.
Okay.
Just
Word.
waiting on my code.
Word.
Shout
Yeah.
out, come on, Ubisoft.
We definitely gonna be talking about that when it drops. But jumping over to some other massive news that hit last week. And we were definitely chomping at the bit to get back on the mic and talk about this here for sure. But Valve just came out swinging, man. They said, okay, well, Microsoft dropping a new console, Sony dropping a new console. Well, Nintendo, I don't know what the hell they doing. They dropped something. You know, they said, well, let's put our head in the ring. Let's go. So we out here dropping their next generation handheld. Basically, it's called the Steam Deck. Uh, Man, it's freaking amazing. It looks kind of like an old Game Gear, right? Like I think we've talked about that before, but it kind of feels like not necessarily their answer to the Switch, but it's definitely like kind of like a stake in their flag in the ground to say, hey, we're here. Like this is a really powerful handheld system. 7-inch touchscreen. Everything's all kind of contained within the unit itself. It's running like a Zen 2 CPU, which is basically similar to what the next generation Xbox and PlayStation are running right now. The graphics card is not that strong, obviously because it's a handheld. For context, it's running at roughly a single teraflop in comparison to the Xbox Series S, which is running at 4 teraflops, the Xbox Series X running at 12 teraflops, and then the PlayStation 5, which runs at roughly 9 to 10 teraflops. So, you're definitely seeing like it's definitely not as powerful, but in comparison to the Nintendo Switch, like I'm sure that the Switch is running half a teraflop, barely even that. You know,
But
Remember back in school when people did the science projects with the potato to get power?
oh man.
no.
But the real question with this is, can it run a Crisis?
You already know it can. You already know
Yeah,
it can.
definitely,
That'll
definitely.
be a whole bunch of chaos, man.
You don't know how well it's gonna run it,
Yes.
but it's definitely running Crisis. And that's the crazy thing about it, right? It's essentially running a version of Steam's OS. It can run virtually any game that's in the Steam library. So all your games that you PC gamers out there, any games that you already own on Steam, realistically, when this thing comes out, you just sign in, boom, you can play your games. It's gonna run at 720p, but chances are, that's the thing about this whole teraflop thing, right? So the teraflops we talked about on a PlayStation or an Xbox, those systems are trying to push out 4K graphics. Now you're looking at, okay, we have a handheld that's only needs to deal with 720p resolution on a 7-inch screen. Like it doesn't need as much graphical fidelity for the resolution stuff, so it can really focus on running certain games at like ultra or high settings, which is kind of insane. I know Valve did a couple interviews with IGN where they kind of talked about the situation outright. They showed Jedi Fallen Order, they showed Control. Both of those games looked like they were running fantastic on that hardware. And I think they basically outlined that both of those games are running at high settings. And I don't know if you guys know much about Control, but that game, it's kind of a bitch to
Mhm.
run. Like that game
It's a
definitely,
wild, engine.
yeah.
That shit looks
Yeah, the
crazy.
physics, all the stuff that's going on in there, like for it to be running that on a handheld without needing to stream it from another place or whatever, because I'm pretty sure, didn't we talk about this? I think Control is on the Switch, but you have to stream it, right? So
Mhm.
I mean, it's like, like the fact that it's just running natively, and we didn't even get into the price, right? It's starting at $399. Now we talked about
Mhm.
last week, the Nintendo Switch OLED model that's starting at 350. Like what?
I know, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, again, I want to get you guys' take on it. Do you guys think this is a game changer? Manny, I'll start with you, man.
Definitely. I mean, we got those hardcore PC fans like, this is not what we wanted. It's a console. But I mean, realistically, this is like, game changer, like we said. We see how, popular the Switch was when it took off. I mean, the fact that you have a portable device that you can essentially dock into your TV or take it on the go, and now you take, what they started, but you make something better with this being, you're able to run PC games like Control, Jedi Fallen Order, whereas the Switch you can only stream those type of games. And and it may be 720p on a 60 hertz display, but I mean it's pretty impressive the fact that you are able to do it. So this is definitely a game changer. Like it's crazy to see how like the future of gaming is pretty much turning out. Like I said, like the fact that you got like essentially a portable PC in your hands is pretty crazy, and like it can do the stuff the Switch does. I mean, they have a dock they got to buy later. It is what it is, but I mean, the fact that it's starting at $400, the same price as a Switch, and the fact that you could probably play it is we know the Steam library, the mass whatever games they have
Yeah.
is like the massive library of games. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have compared to like you being limited to like a Nintendo Switch, where you only have Nintendo exclusives and some indie games that possibly runs in it. So, like I said, game changer. I'm excited to get my hands on one. I actually pre-ordered one yesterday.
Hmm.
Ooh, but
Sure. I did too.
it's a game changer.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean,
I'm not off feet.
that's all right, bro. You just throw your $5 down when you're ready. But yeah, it's amazing, right? Like like I said, it's running Steam OS, so obviously that's a tailored version of an operating system that Valve put on there, and it's basically running Linux in the background. But they did come right out and say, hey, you can just wipe this thing completely and install Windows on it and run your Steam games from Windows, run the Epic Game Launcher, run the Origin Launcher, run the
Mm-hmm.
Xbox games, run xCloud. Literally, the possibilities are virtually endless here. And Chris, I know we talked about this a little bit beforehand, but you know, the, the fact that you can actually kind of plug this into a docking station, essentially have this be a full fledged PC, like what kind of things do you think you'd be trying to do with this aside from just
Uh,
gaming?
it's crazy just to think about because I remember I just kept coming up with other ideas. Like I think about stuff like the fact that you could realistically run Photoshop like a actual program, not the app, not having to do it on your cell phone and dealing with constraints from whatever your phone can do or whatever. You can realistically download a program into this little device and run it, and it should run good. And that is wild to me because to me that's like from a productivity standpoint something that can be very helpful to some people if they're on the go. The fact that it has a touch screen, I'm hoping that eventually, somebody comes out with a third party stylus that works very good for it, or maybe they even come out with their own. Like it feels like almost in a sense when you think about how it could work as a computer or as a second screen for some people in their workstation, like dead ass, the only thing to me that's missing from this device is like a camera. Like that's honestly the only thing I could think of. I mean, it has what the SD micro card slot, I believe.
Yep.
It's doing a lot of things right and a lot of things in a convenient way. Even for people who you produce music. A lot of people, from what I know, they love to have a second screen to just put their piano roll right there on the screen. Why can't you use this for something like that? It's just it's just nice, man. This is really, really nice. Even people who edit videos. Some people they came out with a laptop. I want to say a year or 2 years ago from Asus, and the laptop basically took your keyboard and it split it in half and turned the top half of it to a second screen, so that way people can like take stuff and put it down there to be able to up their productivity or whatever. And for the most part, most people like that idea. It was very expensive, but the concept was, I think, kind of well received. And so I'm just thinking about it in that aspect of just having something that's to the side that can do all these other things, but it also plays your games, but it also does all this other stuff. Like, and it's got a microphone built in, so you can communicate with your friends, because you want to play with your friends and talk to them at the same time. You don't want to have to use some third-party shit like Discord if you don't want to have to do it. This allows you to do it. I'm almost positive it's going to allow you to do a Bluetooth connection, so I don't think putting a headphone on it is going to be hard. Like, fam, this thing, I'm just already ready for when they come out with the 2. You know, they're coming out with the Steam Deck 2. I wish they didn't choose that name because it's really annoying with the Elgato product. But aside from that, man, there ain't a lot of negatives. I think I just touched on a couple of different productivity things that can be done with it, but there's a shit ton, I think, in other areas you can kind of use it for. So,
yeah, I mean,
you could probably use it as a Stream Deck.
You could, you absolutely could. Yeah, that's damn. That's nutty, bro. Like, yeah.
You want to be reading your chat? You want to be streaming and turn it into your chat? You can just do whatever you want with it, bro. Like, what the fuck?
If only you had a stand.
So cool. Well, I mean, the dock.
Somebody's
right?
gonna make one, or somebody else is gonna make one too.
But the dock would be your stand. There you go. Boom, you're good. That's it. But yeah, man. I don't know, man. It's wild to think about. Like, Valve just kind of came out of nowhere with this, right? Like, especially a week after all the trash we were talking, about Nintendo and not giving us the Switch Pro that we have been wanting. And actually, funny enough, there's an article or some piece of news that came out today where Nintendo was alluding to the fact that y'all ain't getting a Switch Pro. I mean, chances are they're probably use the terminology Switch Pro, but they may have something going down the pipeline. But Nintendo signaling that might not exist, like that might drive more people to go and get something like the Steam Deck. But for all the positives that we were talking about here, because I am very excited for it. Like I said, I'm definitely already went and pre-ordered mine. I'm gonna be getting this day one because I think it's super cool. But the community does have some concerns, and I do think some of them are pretty valid, right? We think about Valve, we think about the way they've handled hardware releases in the past. They haven't had the best track record. I know we can speak to what it used to be called the HTC Vive. I don't even know what it's called anymore, but basically Valve's, jumped into the whole VR market, and it hasn't been well supported as far as software updates and, I guess some of the different things that most people would be expecting, especially when you take a look at what's going on with Oculus. Like, they're very consistently hitting with software updates, new games, new this, new that, like kind of hitting the ball hard. So I think a lot of people are concerned that Valve may not support this as well going forward. But then again, it's like it's a PC still, right? Like, there's a ton of other stuff you can do with it, right? It has mod support, like we talked about. It can run Windows. It still is a portable PC in your hand that lets you do all the things. So even if Valve doesn't necessarily support it in the way that we might want them to, and maybe there won't be a Steam Deck 2. See, damn you, Valve, damn you, Elgato. It makes it even worse because Elgato also released a new Stream Deck this week too. So it's just like, news-wise, it's like messing with people's heads. But yeah, I am a little concerned about that side of the Steam Deck stuff, but I don't know. It's still cool, man. It really is. It's still cool.
Yeah. Having that just put in your pocket is just stupid. Like, you just be on a plane just working on stuff, bro. Like, you can just do that. I mean, you could do the same thing on a laptop too, but I mean, you could maybe in some situations just leave your laptop where you got it and just bring this shit with you and just do certain things, because you ain't gonna need your laptop for everything. If this can do it and play your games, like, just bring your fucking charger,
It fits in like an interesting space of, I mean, it's basically a tablet, right? Like, when you really break it down, it's
like a mega tablet, yeah.
Right, yeah, it's a tablet. And if you're more of a gamer, right, like, this creeps into competition against like an iPad, right? Like, obviously an iPad does a very specific thing. It's at this point kind of a general computing device because the level of apps that it has is just freaking wild, and it's
Mhm.
very well suited to a touchscreen. So I will never take that away from what Apple has done with an iPad. But if you're a gamer, you really only care about gaming, and this thing already has a joystick built into it, and you can just download all your games from Steam and do whatever it is that you want. Or if you really wanted to, you could stream. Like if you're on an airplane and you have Wi-Fi, I don't know how well that's gonna work, but if you want to do the XCloud thing, you have Game Pass. That's a whole nother avenue that they could really be hitting on. Now, with that being said, I do think one of the counters that Nintendo would have to this is if the rumors are true about the whole Game Pass thing. If that pops off, like it's obviously still not going to be as powerful as the Stream Deck, but opening up a bigger library of games that could speak to a lot of people. And then the one thing that the Stream Deck is never going to have is, the Marios of the world and all that stuff. Yeah, you can run like Nintendo 64 ROMs on it and all that stuff, but like Breath of the Wild is never going to be on Steam Deck, Like those types of games that people really go to for Nintendo in particular. Like it's interesting because I don't know how much of those demographics overlap, right? Like yeah, it's a handheld, but people who love Nintendo, they love Nintendo for specific reasons, right? They're not necessarily looking for the power. They're not necessarily looking for the crazy library that Steam has to offer. If they care about that, they probably would just be playing a PC anyways. They
Mhm.
really just want it for Smash Bros. And Mario and Luigi's Mansion and so on and so forth. So that's definitely also something I try to keep into perspective because it's different. Nintendo offers an experience that you can't get anywhere else. And I know Chris, you have your feelings about Nintendo. Largely I feel the same way about most things. I just don't care for what they're doing lately. But, I'm sure you can attest to it. Like it's hard to deny they have games that a lot of gamers like,
No, of course, of course.
and
I'd
they
be
speak
stupid to
to
deny that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they speak to the nostalgia of people, right? Like even though I don't particularly care about most of that nostalgia stuff, like it is still one of those things like we just talked about in the
Yeah.
previous couple
Mhm.
stories, right? Like Nintendo Switch is still selling top units for the month and the years and so on and so forth. It's crazy to me, man. I mean, I guess Chris in particular, I'm curious, what do you think it is about that though? Like Nintendo's just seems to still have a chokehold on a lot of people in a lot of ways.
Well, if I'm gonna be 100% honest, I really truly believe that a lot of it has to do with how Nintendo markets it to the kids too.
Mm.
Because I know a lot of adults do play it for nostalgia reasons, and I'm never gonna argue against that. Like, there's a reason why Mario is still relevant in 2021, even after all these years.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like every time I've been to GameStop, especially in the last like year, 2 years, 3 years type of thing, there's always at least one or two moms in there trying to buy a Switch for their kid because their kid is begging for this thing and they need it. And to the point where you see them on the phone and they're like, "Well, you only have what? You don't have the black one? Oh, all right, I'm calling another store right now." And they're going crazy trying to find it. So it's just like, I guess there's just a lot of people also out there who really want to get one for their kid if their kid is asking for it.
Mhm.
I don't think that
Counterpoint.
counts for all of it, but yeah.
Counterpoint. Because I used to work at GameStop and I saw some of these things happen, right? Do you think it's just a matter? So Nintendo is like a household name
Yeah.
for kids entertainment in particular. Kids don't necessarily, at least like the younger generation right now, they may not necessarily want a Switch in the sense of like playing Nintendo games and all that stuff. Because I look at my little cousin, he doesn't care about Mario, right? He don't care about Zelda or any of that type of stuff. He cares about Minecraft. He's out here rocking with Steve, Minecraft Steve. He cares about
Mhm.
him. He cares about Roblox. He cares about all these other Fortnite. He cares about all that stuff, right? That's what speaks to their generation. And fortunately, like Minecraft and Fortnite, those games are absolutely on the Switch, so it's great, whatever. But when you really break it down, right, like they really just care about having a PC.
So
Mhm.
my only rebuttal to what you're saying, and I think you're right. You're definitely right with that. My only one rebuttal is Pokemon because you literally cannot play that on anything else, and that's one of the biggest pulls I know kids always want is that one damn game is Pokemon.
I
So it's like,
still only see adults playing Pokemon though.
are you
Like
serious? What?
like Pokemon Go when that dropped, it was just
Well, yeah,
adults
that was.
playing that.
I felt like that was everybody, but I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like I still see a lot of kids who want to play Pokemon when it comes out. Like I just feel like it's a thing. But I could be off. It's just what I think I see with my own eyes. I don't got no numbers or nothing on that. But
Yeah. No, I'm curious about it too.
yeah, bro.
Like,
I
speculatively.
really see that all the time. When I pull my Switch out when I used to work at some of these other places, or my 3DS when I had it, the amount of kids who knew exactly what was going on in every single one of these Pokemon games was insane. Like I would be like actually impressed by a good amount of them just because they had really, really big knowledge on how the game worked for some of them really young ages. So I don't know, man. That's the only one game that I could think about that Nintendo has that you cannot play really anywhere else unless you play like a third-party version of it or something. That you have to buy a Switch to play.
No,
Like,
you're
I don't know what
absolutely right.
else.
You're absolutely right. I do think that's one of those things that does have like a wide demographic, I guess. You know? Because again, like I said, when I think about the other things that like when we were growing up were really marketed towards kids, like Mario and so on and so forth. Like I'm looking around at like the kids that I know in my life, and they just don't care about that stuff at all. Like they are all about Minecraft, bro. All in on Minecraft and Roblox and what well, I don't think RuneScape anymore, but like all those other little weird games. Like you look at the best way to know about what these kids are interested in is go on freaking YouTube and watch what the most like streamed game is or whatever on YouTube, not Twitch, YouTube in particular. And it's gotta still be Minecraft, right? Like it's absolutely nutty to me, man. That game will live on forever. And yeah, I mean, I think kids might want to play that on a stream deck. Steam deck. God damn it.
Yeah, see that shit right there. It's not it. They gotta fix that. Like, what else could you call it? The Valver? The Valver. That doesn't even
we'll call
sound
it
right.
The steamer.
I'll just call it the deck. The Valve deck.
But
I don't
know.
That sounds much better. Yeah, the Valve deck. I like that. The
Boom.
Steam Deck is way too close to the Stream Deck, dude. It's just come on. Man.
I'm gonna just start calling it the Valve deck from now on, guys. When you hear me say Valve deck, you know what I'm talking about. Oh man, but yeah, guys, good conversation on this here. Anything guys you guys want to add about the Valve Steam Deck before we get out of here?
Yeah.
All right, I'll take that as a no.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm excited.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I'm
excited too.
There's and this is actually going to be another good week. I mean, you know, if you guys are watching this when we release it on Tuesdays, Thursday we should be getting an EA Play event with some news. I think by now we should also be getting some news about Skate, which is supposed to drop today. But yeah, I mean, definitely gonna have a lot to talk about next week. So we'll check you guys out then. Before we go though, Manny, where can the people find you?
You already know.
That was bad here.
All right. Well, y'all can find me at twitch.tv/GoodMasterFlex, on Instagram and Twitter at GoodMasterFlex_TTV, as well as TikTok at No Context Gaming. You already know, slide through.
Word. All right. Mr. May 25th.
Yeah, man. Y'all already know where to find your boy at. MAY25THX. X. That's on everything, including Gmail. But don't be worried about no pen paling because I ain't fucking with y'all no more about no pen paling. You know, it's been a solid 6 months. Be begging for a friend, I guess, apparently, and nobody wants to pen pal. So don't worry about it.
You got what I need.
Oh, rip Bismarcky.
Oh man.
Yeah, man, rip him, man.
God damn. God damn.
What a somber note to end on, guys. God
Real
damn.
talk. God
all right,
damn.
well,
we gotta show my guy love.
Yeah, for real. Rest in peace, my guy. But yeah, for me, Black Ice 8. You can find me at Twitch TV/Black Ice 8. I'm on Xbox, Twitter, PlayStation, Steam as well, at Black Ice 8. Probably the only other difference is on Instagram. You guys can check me out at Black Ice 8_gaming. Same thing on the TikTok as well, although I need to step my game up on TikTok, post a little bit more, but work on that. Also, you guys can check us out for the podcast. Our Instagram is at XPackPod, and on TikTok, we're also go by Expansion Pack Podcast. So please make sure to check us out. For those of you who are listening on all the podcast services out there, we also have a YouTube page, so make sure to check that out. Please like, please subscribe. Helps us out tremendously. But yeah, until next time, guys. See you guys later. Peace.